Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted and privileged to welcome a very senior professional from Glastonbury, UK, Dr. Lynne Sedgmore CBE. Dr. Lynne is the chair of the Glastonbury Town Deal. She's a coach and she's an author. Welcome, Dr. Lynne.
Thank you for having me. Delighted to be on the podcast this morning.
Thank you. So let's talk about your chair, you being the chair of the Glastonbury Town Deal. Tell me about the work that you do there.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I have sat on 26 boards in my time, but I think this is the most exciting project that I've been involved in. We're one of 101 towns in the UK who've been giving up to 25 million for regeneration. And we've had over 24 or will get 24 million. So we've got 11 grassroots led projects, which are everything from it's capital monies. So it's all about renovating buildings. We've got this amazing Bailey's building, encouraging community groups to step forward, improving sustainability, clean energy, the Abbey, the Glastonbury Abbey, which is an icon in the town, will receive funding. So it's a really exciting, community-based, how do we regenerate? How do we bring in more employment? How do we improve learning and skills? We're working with the Open University as well to bring in Glastonbury badged open learnings to improve skills. So it's a really wide-ranging community-based project, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Amazing. And one of the things that I've always wondered is what is it like to work with politicians and bureaucrats? What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I've been doing that for a very long time.
I can imagine.
Because I worked in further education, and for 4 years I was the chief exec of a national leadership centre that worked to the Secretary of State, actually. And 7 years as the chief exec of the 157 group, I was speaking truth to power in developing skills policy.
Right.
Politicians, I love working with. Once you understand what makes them tick, and you make sure they get good press coverage, and they never get negative press coverage. I learned that very quickly. And you really know what motivates them and what they want to achieve. I love working with politicians, and the vice chair of my board is our local MP, James Heafy. And I'm really enjoying working with him as well. So they're more transparent about what they want and what they need. The bureaucrats, the civil servants, I have to say, I really struggle with. I once sat on a national anti-bureaucracy task force and was in the Times Ed, they actually called me the enemy of bureaucracy lovers everywhere. I thought, I must get that put on a T-shirt. I struggle with that. And what I usually do is I have people in my team around me who are good at doing that, because my face gives me away. Unnecessary bureaucracy, which is totally pointless. It's all about lack of trust, etc., theory X and all of that just bores me to tears. So I've learned it. I don't enjoy it, but I do enjoy working with politicians. But it is a particular political intelligence, I think, is a field of its own that I've had to learn to acquire the skills. It's not natural to me.
Fantastic. I completely agree with what you're saying. I also have no problem working with politicians, but bureaucrats is another cup of tea completely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
it's all the questions they ask. It's all those questions that they keep asking. But,
correct. And of course, writing in the narrow left margin, some strange reason. But moving on, after doing so many different things, why did you decide to become a coach?
Okay, to be honest, it wasn't something that particularly interested me. I've always been coached from very young. I mean, when I was in my 20s, we didn't call it coaching, we called it mentoring.
Correct.
So I've always had people who have volunteered to support me, who've mentored me all through my career. And because I'm on a spiritual path, I've always had a spiritual director or a soul coach or a soul guide as well. So in that sense, I was always used to being coached. When I led the Centre for Excellence in Leadership, we had 40,000 leaders come through in 4 years. We had a massive coaching service. We developed one, and I had some of the best coaches in the land actually working for us. I was always enjoying whole systems and whole organizations, hence being a chief exec working at national level. It was only when I decided to retire, in inverted commas, which I've done 3 times now. It's probably better to say become a portfolio worker, that I really found that I liked coaching others as well. I'd always offered it free when I was in full-time work. I always had 6 people a year that I supported for nothing. That was my pro bono service. But what I found is, 1, I'm good at it. And 2, I really enjoy it. And getting to know people from the inside out and to support them is so beautiful and rewarding. It is the primary thing that I do now. I love it.
So, you know, what you just said many years ago, that people used to mentor, that's the question I have for you. When I was growing up, you were coached or mentored either by a family elder or by someone senior in your company who took a liking for you.
Exactly.
So my question to you, Lynne, is what has changed? This has now become so formalized and people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something to do. It's more like it's the new priesthood. You know, I think there's more of an acceptance in society that you can turn to someone.
Correct.
There is still, I think, a stigma about therapy or needing too much help. So I think what's happened is coaching has filled that gap for people saying, I'm struggling. Times are more complex, they're faster. So I think what's happened is people are saying, I need someone. And a profession has built up that's made itself available. You know, there weren't coaches when I was there. And you're right. There was always someone in every organization I've ever been who said, Lynne, you're a future chief exec. I want to help you. And so I've always done that back inside my organizations and outside. Because I think, you know, you pass it forward, you pay it forward.
Absolutely.
So I think what's changed is a profession has developed, it's available, and it's very expensive.
Absolutely. I agree. So moving on, Lynne, my next question is that given the amazing background you have had, how has your background supported your coaching philosophy, your style and your values?
Yeah, well, I want to go back to my background. I'm from a very poor working class background, a council mining estate from in the 50s. My father was a South Walian miner. Where my core philosophy comes from, if you said you lived on Crackley, a huge range of stereotypes kicked in immediately. You were thick, you were a thief, you were not a nice person, you know, you were socially unacceptable, etc., etc. And I used to think, I don't fit any of those. And my mum and dad were the salt of the earth and wanted the best for their 3 children. So in that sense, my core philosophy is never, ever judge from a place of bias, prejudice, or stereotype. What I wanted was people to see me as Lynne Sedgmore and to learn who I was and find that out, not load me with masses of preconceptions that were mostly very negative. I'm a strong character. I do the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 8, which is a strong kind of have strong self-belief. But I know many of my friends who were crushed by that stereotype. So what that's given me is a philosophy that says, take a person and really look at who they are, get to know them, understand them. And everyone has got potential. Do not write them off. And I think that's at the heart of mine, is fostering potential and creativity, and knowing that every single one of us, whatever our background, or we've all got limitations, we've all got strengths, that they can be encouraged, supported, enabled, and fostered in a way that they can grow and flower. And that's what I love doing.
Amazing. The other thing that I've asked a lot of coaches, and I'm going to ask you the same, is that how have people in your life shaped you, and how are they influencing you as a coach today?
Yeah, I like having role models. I've always watched people I've worked with, people around me, read books. Gandhi is my biggest hero, if I'm honest. Martin Luther King, all very a bit stereotypical, but I've read books about them, read about their lives. It's this social justice in me. Social justice and service is really important to me. So I have had bosses, if you like, people in my career who've been dreadful. I have to say.
Absolutely.
And I've watched them and thought, I'm never going to do it like that. Right. I'm learning here. I'm learning how not to do it. I'm learning what doesn't work. I'm learning what really doesn't resonate with me. And then I'd go away and reflect and turn it round. And then fortunately, I've had enough people, Adrienne Fresco, David Marshall, who were both chairs of boards, and lots of others who have thought, yes, that's how I want to do it. They care. They think about it. They self-reflect. They're hugely capable. They're skillful. I've got this thing, Gareth Jones's book, Why Would Anyone Be Led by You? Be yourself with skill. It's important to be competent. So I would say that I'm influenced and watch and listen and think and reflect and learn from everybody and anybody. But there are particular coaches, Dr. Simon Weston and his analytical network coaching, Professor Peter Hawkins, his transformational coaching, Lena Stockford, who was my first real serious mentor. So there's lots of people that I am very, very grateful to.
Very interesting. Two more questions relating to coaching before I move on. My next question is that, you are working in a very, very multicultural society or a country. The UK is very, very multicultural now.
Yes.
My question to you is, how does culture impact coaching?
The culture of society and the culture of the organization, I think in relation to coaching, we have to have a seriously well-informed cultural awareness about the society and the organizations we're working in. When I was the chief exec of the Centre for Excellence in Leadership, in further education, we did not have enough BME coaches. We just didn't. So we set up a national coaching service, and I'm like, we don't have a single black coach, not a single one. Wow. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to support and develop, and we went out of our way. We put 12 BME professionals who wanted to be coaches through a master's program through, so they got something. So we actually made sure that we had BME coaches available as a choice, so that there was always a choice. So my sense of culture, and particularly social justice, and looking for where there are inequalities or things that need to be placed in a system to give the maximum availability and choice for different kinds of people is paramount.
I agree.
Yeah.
Very interesting. One more question, and this is regarding the millennials and the Gen Zs. This is their age now.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of admiration for what the young people are doing. My question to you, Lynne, is what, in your opinion, are the areas millennials and Gen Zs need to be coached in?
Okay. This is a really interesting one that I've really worked with, because when we, the Centre for Excellence, we were full of millennials and Gen X's, and I had to change my leadership style to adapt to them as well. What I found was that they had huge enthusiasm, brought very high level skills. They were often overqualified for the roles that they were in. But I always, and I still do, carry this sense of lack of loyalty. Or reciprocity might be a less judgmental word. So I would be coaching millennials in reciprocity. That yes, of course, it is important that the organization gives you what you want. And we did lots of that in Cell. What is it that keeps them there? What is it that we can, and let's get 2 years out of somebody and their fullest potential, but they will move on very quickly. So I think it's about reciprocity and understanding consequences on the whole system sometimes, because there is quite a strong individualism and I don't want to stereotype them, a kind of me bit about it, which actually part of me envies, because as a baby boomer I was brought up to actually perhaps not look after yourself as much. So I think I don't want to take that away from them. I just want them to understand that there's a whole system that works and is dependent and reliant. So what we did in Cell with Dr. Simon Weston as our external consultant was we looked at the system as a whole. What is it that happens if you make a choice of a particular kind? What's its knock-on effects? So, but I've always felt there was so much creativity, so much added value, that I was willing to say, well, they won't stay for years and years in the way that we baby boomers felt this sort of sense of belonging and loyalty. How do we keep them valued and rewarded and get the best out of them until they move on to something else?
What a great response. Thank you. So let's now move to your books. Tell me a little bit about the books that you've written.
Okay, well, there are two kinds. 3 of my books are poetry books. My first degree was English and American literature, so I've always scribbled in secret, as many people do, with poetry. And I think about 10 years ago, I went to actually, this was interesting. It was a poet who was offering coaching as a poet. And I thought, didn't know that existed. It was Jay Ramsey. He died a couple of years ago. So I went and saw him. He was in Stroud, and I went and said, I've got a whole load of poems here. I don't know if I'm Emily Dickinson or they're a load of rubbish or just therapy. Do you know what I mean? And if they are just therapy, that's fine. And he looked at them and said, I really like what you're doing. Here's a few edits. Come back and I'll publish you. And I'm like, okay. Wasn't expecting that. So that's how it started. It was really hard for me to put my poems out into the world. It's like putting your bare soul out there.
Absolutely.
And then I carried on doing it. So I've got 3 collections of poetry and lots of poetry in magazines and anthologies. So that's another strand of me. And quite a lot of it is mystical poetry as well. But then I developed 4 years ago, I developed my own leadership program because I wanted to be right at the leading edge. I decided that I wanted to do it through a sacred feminine, goddess lens. So I've been exploring goddess spirituality for the last 10 years. Previously, I'm an interfaith minister. I was a practicing Buddhist. My husband's into Ayurveda. So I've always, I was brought up a Christian. I've always been interested in different faiths.
Right.
I wrote it because I could, and I just wanted to. I didn't think anybody would be interested in it. You can look at it from a shamanic lens as well. It's very earth-based. So I've got kind of goddess notice at the center, elements, archetypes, the moon. And then I've taken 4 facets of what I think is the best of mainstream leadership: state of being, ways of knowing, path of power. And I've built up a whole thing around leaderful. So the Goddess Luminary Leadership Wheel book is the book of the course, which I run face to face. It's a 2-year course. And John Hunt decided to publish it, Changemakers imprint, and it's doing really well. And I'm pleasantly surprised because it's quite a niche thing. And I wanted to have a bit of a USP in my leadership, and I like pushing boundaries. I like edge walking.
Absolutely. Fascinating. Well, I'm going to ask all of my viewers and listeners to go and check out your books on Amazon. I'm sure they're available all over the world.
Yes, I have an author website.
Wonderful. So I'm going to now come to my last question. And this is for the many, many, many people who will listen to our conversation. Based on your amazing journey and all your learnings, what would you say are 3 lessons you would like our viewers and listeners to take away from our conversation and from your own learnings?
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, I would say it is really helpful, important to have a coach, whether it's a free coach or someone you pay for, or peer coaching. Find someone that you can have those deep conversations that lead to real light bulb moments and whole new ways of seeing it. So there is a huge value in coaching. I would also say be comfortable with making mistakes and being vulnerable. That was hard for me. I wanted to get everything right. So it's really important to get yourself into a place where you can learn from mistakes and move on really quickly. And I think I have to say the importance of self-awareness, reflection, time to really think about what you're doing. You know, they say management is getting things right. Leadership is the art of doing the right things. So understanding yourself, being yourself, being your authentic self with skill, having the levels of competence that are needed, but also a level of self-awareness, self-understanding, authenticity, self-expression that allows you to go way over and above the baseline targets or whatever. That's when the magic happens in the organization. If everybody's functioning in that way, then all the sums of the part just create a whole set of doing the impossible, really, or going way, way beyond.
Wonderful. What a great conversation. Lynne, thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for your wonderful lessons. Get yourself a coach, be comfortable, make mistakes, and be vulnerable, and be self-aware and self-reflect. On that note, thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck in everything that you're doing.
And thank you. And just to say a huge thank you for this service that you're giving to so many people. And it's a privilege to be interviewed and to have a conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.